Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our web design workshop. We're so excited to have you here with us. We are going to drop a link into the chat real quick, just so we can take our attendance for our session today. And I know we're going to probably have some people joining these first few minutes. So if you could take a minute to go through, just click through that attendance link. And then if you also want to introduce yourself into the chat, you can just say where you're coming from. And if you have used CodeHS before, maybe what courses you have used on CodeHS before. It's really helpful to see who is with us. And I see we already have some people that I recognize. So thanks for joining us for another session today. So you can go ahead and click through that attendance link. We'll drop it in again because I know that some new people have came in even just in this first minute. Still got some people coming in. So we'll take another 30 seconds before we get started. We're gonna get started on our web design in just a minute, but Emily just dropped in the attendance link again. So if you just came in, if you could click through that attendance link to record that you're here, that would be awesome. And I see a lot of people introducing themselves in the chat. Lots of people new to CodeHS. Awesome. Teaching web design this year, first time ever. Awesome. We are going to have so many great tips for you to get you feeling totally prepared to take on this course this year. All right, so I want to make sure we have enough time to get through all of our content today. So I'm going to get started. We are going to drop a link into the chat, which is our workbook that we're going to use today, just so that you can get that opened up. Our workbook is going to be a really, really helpful tool for you to have open on the side. Web design workbook. Awesome, thank you. There's the link in the chat. And this is a really, really helpful thing for you to keep open so that you are able to follow along as we go through our session today. So my name is Julia Trigo, and this summer I'm working at CodeHS as a PD specialist. I used to work at CodeHS about a year ago, writing curriculum, and I recently went back to the classroom. So last year, during the craziness, I decided to go back into the classroom. So during the school year, I teach at a high school in Virginia, but this summer, I'm really excited to be here working for CodeHS and being able to connect with teachers and help them see all the resources and tools that are offered on CodeHS. And I'm joined today by Linda Hahn, who is one of our PD specialists here at CodeHS. And she has taught the web design course for many years and has a lot of awesome tips for that course that she's going to give you. So you're going to get to hear from her in just a bit. And then we also have Emily Caskey here, who is going to be answering all your questions and making sure that all of the things that you came here to find, you leave with that information. So that is our goal today. We have a great team here to make sure that everyone is going to be leaving with a lot of awesome tips and information about our web design course and CodeHS in general. So how are you going to ask questions today? We have a question parking lot. If you can have this document open, the link to this question parking lot is also in the workbook, if you have that open already, web design questions. And that's going to be a really great place for you to ask questions throughout our session. So if you have someone says something and you are really interested or you want to know more, hop right over to the question parking lot and you can put that question right in. You don't have to wait until the end, and we will be answering those questions as our session goes through today. So you'll be able to get links and more information about anything you're wondering there. So that is a really good document to have open as well. And a reminder, if you just came in, you want to make sure you open up that web design workbook. This is going to have a lot of helpful links and information so that you can stay on track as we go through the many different resources and information during today's session. So the question parking lot in your workbook, really helpful to have open on the side. All right. Now, if you don't have an account on CodeHS yet, you can go right over to codehs.com/sign up, and you'll enter in some information about your school in order to get verified as a teacher on CodeHS. So you can definitely take a minute to do this if you want to create an account and you don't have one yet. If you already have an account, we're going to be using that today during our session, so you can open that up and log in. Or if you are totally new and this is, the first time that you're here and you're just you just want to see a little bit about what CodeHS is about first, that is totally fine. You can sit back and watch. You are going to receive this recording and slides at the end of our session today. We're going to get that information emailed out to you. So you can totally go back and create an account later once you are ready. Everyone is at a different point. So if you are a CodeHS veteran, you already got all this. But if you are totally brand new and you just want some base information, totally feel free to just sit back and watch today. All right, if you already have your account, we're going to be using a demo course, a demo section. Awesome. So we are going to drop this info into the chat, and this is also in your workbook and in your parking lot. So if you have any of those open, you should have this link to join our demo section for today. So when you're asked for a code, the code is going to be those last 5 digits, BE97B. And this is going to be enrolling you in our web design workshop section for today. So you're going to have all the information that you need as we go through some sample information in the web design course. And you're also going to have access right there to all of the content in our web design course right there. So it's going to be really handy for you. This is the same way that students will join your section on CodeHS as well. You'll give them a link like this and a code, and we'll take a look a little bit later about where that information is found. So as you are getting that all sorted out, I'm just going to go over our agenda for today. So if you're still joining the demo section, if you're having any issues, feel free, write it in the parking lot. We can help you out there. But we want to just take a look at what we're going to be doing and covering today. So we're starting with our intro and getting enrolled in that demo section. And then we're going to, Linda is going to bring us through a web design course overview. So she's going to tell us, what is this course? How is it laid out? What's included in it? And then she's going to jump in and do some sample web design lessons. So she's going to go through the content as the teacher, and you are going to be in the role of the student, going through that content and learning how students are going to access that material and some tips that you can use as a teacher when you are bringing this material to your students. So we're going to look at those instructional strategies. And during this portion, the main goal is not really to learn web design or HTML or CSS. The goal is for you to see all of the resources available on CodeHS and how you can use them with your students in your classroom. So reminder, you will have, as long as you want, you have access to all of the curriculum. So you can go through the entire web design course as a student after our session today, and work through that content and learn all of the concepts of HTML and CSS that way. But today we want to see how can we use those resources in the teacher role. All right. And then at the end of our session, we are going to take a look at some teacher tools and resources, where you can find all of that. And remember, as we go through our session today, you don't need to hold your questions to the end. You can always be putting them right over in the parking lot. So before we get started with our course overview, Emily, can you just drop the workbook link one more time? Because that workbook is going to have links to everything that we need today. So I know that some people joined in a little bit later, and this is going to be the most handy thing for you to have open as we go through our session. So I saw someone was saying, where do we go to join the course? You'll see right in the workbook, it says join our demo section. There's a link and there's a code. So you can use that to join our section today on CodeHS. And now we're gonna push it over to Linda to take us through our web design course overview.
All right, thank you everyone for joining. I am really excited to be teaching this particular workshop, specifically because I did teach the web design course as a teacher when I was teaching using CodeHS. And one thing that I actually stumbled upon CodeHS, the web design course, because I was really looking for some new resources. I was at the point in my courses that I was creating all of the content myself. I don't know if you've ever been in that scenario as a teacher, but it is very, very difficult to kind of juggle a lot of different, probably CS courses. And what I was doing was literally having my students use Notepad. We used Dreamweaver to do some front end work, and then Dreamweaver wasn't working sometimes. And at times we'd go into brackets and use some of that software. And so it was just a mishmash of a lot of things. When I found the CodeHS IED and the curriculum and everything kind of rolled into one, a front-end developer and a back-end developer, it was amazing. So I'm excited to kind of deliver this part of the training today. And just so that you know, if you're looking at the parking lot, just to be clear, we are here where you can go ahead and join the demo course. So if you haven't done so already, on line 2 is where you can see the demo course and also the class code. So that's where I'm going to work from now. But web design is a project-based course that teaches students how to build web pages with HTML and CSS. They really get out of this course a lot of tangible professional experience building both web and mobile responsive websites. I tell my students all the time, this course allows them to get some hands-on experience that they can actually use on a lot of different fields. It's a great resume builder, so to speak. So if your students have never taken any kind of CS course too, there are no prerequisites for this course. And that's another thing that I love about it, because it is kind of a feeder course. And by feeder course, I mean, if you teach not only web design, but also maybe computer science or an intro to programming course, an AP course, you might have at times, have a hard time convincing students to take a coding class. When it comes to web design, it's a little more creative and it kind of pulls in a different demographic of student. And I really enjoyed teaching that class for this particular reason. So again, no prerequisites for web design, and students that have never coded before really find great success in it. And I love it for that reason. So I wanted to show you a couple of different pathways. This is our general pathway that we talk about at CodeHS. Now, Computing Ideas with Lovelace and Creative Computing actually has several components of web design within those courses. Web design can really be taken at any point. I've had 9th graders all the way up through 12th grade be very successful and enjoy the course. So, and again, it can become kind of a course that is a gateway to some other computer science courses if you are teaching other courses. There are other pathways too. So if you are perhaps choosing to maybe take a cybersecurity pathway, it's really important for students to really get a foundation in HTML and CSS for them to understand what it is that they're protecting on the web. So web design, particularly the Picasso course, is a great course to start with. Mobile apps will require some front end and back end, so they can really get a full scope of that by taking the web design course. And web development is a brand new pathway. We just started that about a year ago, and this includes the web design course, but also the web development course, which is the next level, allows students to integrate what they've learned in both web design and the Intro to JavaScript course. So they'll be actually creating responsive websites, and in addition, it'll have some functionality within that website. So it's pretty neat. So there are different flavors to our courses. In this particular case, we have a few different flavors for the web design course. Each of the web design courses is named after a famous artist and corresponds with a different length and age range. So I have taught web design down through middle school. So if you're a middle school teacher here today, there are absolutely ways that you can incorporate this into your classroom. The Matisse and Michelangelo courses are generally anywhere between a year and a semester for middle school. In high school, we have the Monet course, which is a 1 semester high school course, and a full year course, which is the Picasso course. I'll be kind of diving in a little bit more about what the Picasso course has in it. So this is the breakdown of the modules in the Picasso course. We start by getting started with web design. So in that first module, students are going to learn the basics of the internet. They learn kind of like how web pages reach the web browser, and then how they enter a URL. So really, it's just the foundation of how like the nuts and bolts work. We're going to then transition to HTML and CSS. So module 2 and 3, students learn the basics of HTML and CSS, and they combine the two to create some simple websites, but well-designed websites. We then go into their own project. Now, really important for me to note something here. Students have the ability to actually create their own web page. So there are some subdomains set up for students where they can have actual fully functioning websites with a working URL. So they have the ability to create their own full-fledged website with an actual URL, and they love sending it to people. They'll send it to friends and family, and they'll say, look what I created. So it's pretty cool. And you do that, or they do that by clicking on this edit my CodeHS.me homepage, and then they can create their own full-fledged project. Now, the advanced HTML and CSS unit, it's a little different. Whoops, let me go back 2 slides. There we go. This one actually dives deeply into kind of the intricacies of CSS more so, and it incorporates, how do you take those CSS elements and create these dynamic websites. And so those websites will respond to different dimensions. So you can see right here on the right, we have the box model. Students will learn what it means to utilize CSS to make sure that that boxed content has the proper amount of margin and border and padding, things like that. Then we also have a couple of more projects integrated along the way. So students will create an infographic to help share their advanced HTML and CSS knowledge. The Bootstrap unit, by the way, Bootstrap, if you've never used it before, it is an API. So it helps them to see how libraries work and how they can use those concepts they've learned in that HTML and CSS unit. They can take some of that Bootstrap CSS that's already kind of pre-packaged for them and create these amazing mobile responsive websites. And so that is not only lessons, but also a project associated with it. Finally, the last 2 modules, designing user interfaces, this is where we introduce design thinking. Students learn about the Stanford design thinking model and how you can use it to build, test, and prototype websites, get user feedback. This is more kind of in the line of user experience and user interfaces, and students really like this unit. It doesn't really require much coding, but it requires them to have that design thinking model. What is the end goal? And think backwards from there. So we're going to go through a sample lesson. And this first lesson, I'm really just hoping to give an overview of what the different components of CodeHS are in terms of our curriculum and what's available to you as soon as you sign up for an account and start adding students. So just so that you're aware, our workshop, I have built all of these components into that demo course that you have enrolled in. And so if you'll look, here's my demo course here, and you can see the introduction is there. I've put the workshop workbook in there, and the slides and all of these different components. So what I want to do first is I want to take a quick look at our goals for the workshop. So if you're in the course with me, what I want to do real quick is just write down what are your goals for today. So if you're in the Padlet, you just need to click the plus symbol here. This is inside the demo course. And again, you can start writing. You just simply write, my goal is to learn more about the curriculum, or my goal is to, collaborate with other teachers. Let me know what your goals are. Excellent. I want to see what CodeHS has to offer for web design. Excellent. More about the curriculum. Great. How to best teach web design. Excellent. That is an excellent goal. Wow, great job, guys. All right. To see CodeHS in action for web design. Excellent. Yep. Incorporated into my class. I'm very, very excited to see this. Okay, great, great, great. Now, as you're writing, I just want to point out something, and Julia will walk you through this a little bit later, but this is a Padlet that I actually added as a supplement to this course, and you can do the same if you use other resources for your course. You can absolutely add it and build it into your web design course should you decide to add some additional resources. So excellent. There's a refresher. Find out more about web design. Excellent, excellent. So I am going to go ahead and switch back to these slides. So you can see here, we've gone through the intro, the workbook, the slides, and we're going to dive into lesson 1. So it's called Introduction to HTML. And what I want to do is kind of give a quick overview of how CodeHS breaks down the lessons. So you can see I talked about modules, the modules in the web design course. And again, that was the web design Picasso course. There's other flavors of that course, but we break it down into modules, lessons, and then activities. And so as a for instance, the introduction, so you can see here the introduction to HTML. If you went from the workbook to this link, you would see this, and this is the module, this is the lesson of Introduction to HTML. So each one has, again, a lesson should last about 50 minutes. It's possible that it may take longer depending on the type of activity it is, but generally you'll have a few activities, including sometimes a reading passage, a video, a quiz, exercises, and some examples as well. I always tell my students, use the examples to your advantage because you can never break them. So the exercises will have a pencil, and you'll know those are things to be completed. Also, because this is a course that allows for blocks, you actually have the option to switch between block mode and text mode. So if students decide, if you decide for your students, you can even take off the blocks and disable that altogether from your teacher end of things. But a lot of my students, because they're new and many of them have never coded before, this first unit, I generally leave in blocks just for them to be able to see that. So let's go ahead and look at the introduction to HTML. So thank you so much for answering the question. So down here on the bottom, you can see I'm going to go to Introduction to HTML. And again, this particular introduction includes a video. So I'm going to play just a short portion of the video, and then I'll pause it and show you another strategy I use.
Hi, in this video, we'll be going through an introduction to one of the most important parts of web development, and that is the language HTML. Here's a question. Ever wondered how exactly web pages are made? Probably view several websites a day on the internet. Ever wondered what goes into making these web pages behind the scenes? Well, introducing HTML. HTML is the language for building web pages. So why learn HTML? Well, HTML lets us build our own web pages. When we build our own web pages, we can easily share our ideas and creations with the entire world. web pages have become an incredibly valuable resource in our society for spreading information, spreading ideas, for artists to share their creations, for groups to get together and organize. Web pages are the new way information is shared between people.
Okay, so I'm going to pause this for just a moment and whoops, let me switch here. I'm going to switch to slide mode. Now, if you didn't see that or didn't quite catch that, there's a toggle up here at the top and I went to slides. And so you can actually decide to actually play the video. And oftentimes with my students, they enjoyed the video so much that that's what I would do every class. We would either watch the video individually or watch it as a class, but I have the intro to HTML. And so the question was, how are web pages made? And here is where we began to introduce what HTML is. So why HTML? Well, Facebook, Google, CodeHS, pretty much every website on the internet uses HTML to create web pages. So you can see on the browser is interpreting this language called HTML and CSS to deliver those beautiful websites to your desktop or mobile phone. And the way that it does that is it utilizes a web browser, and really any web browser can be used on any device. So what does HTML stand for? It stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Hypertext is actually the portion that allows the web browser to see it as a link or as a fully readable web page. Markup language really relates to what it is that you're putting on the website and how you want it to appear. So if I want it to appear bold, I would put maybe a strong tag or a B tag. If I'm wanting it to appear italicized, maybe I put an I tag. So hypertext displayed on the computer and has links to other hypertext documents. So you guys have probably heard of hyperlinks. That's how that works. Markup language, again, annotates the text and decides how it's going to be displayed. So how does HTML mark up the text on the web page? It uses HTML tags. So HTML is made up of tags that mark up the text of the document in order to tell the web browser how the text should be displayed. So HTML is just normal text, and markup tags are actually what make it display on the web page the way that you want it to. So very, very important, HTML is actually has its own syntax. So syntax you may be familiar with if you've ever maybe taught a writing course. You know that things like commas and exclamation points and periods, those are all considered syntax. Well, in HTML, you can enclose your, well, you have to enclose your text in what is called this angle brackets. And so you can see right here, we have an H1 tag. H1 stands for heading 1, and that allows us to display big, bold text on our screen. So you can see, first and foremost, the tags start and end with those angle brackets. And then in between, it's what type of tag it is. So in this case, H1 tag. Now, in order to enclose, let's say I wanted hello to be big and bold, but everything else on my web page is going to be plain text. Well, I would have to enclose the word hello with an opening tag and a closing tag. Now, just in the chat, I just really want to see, what do you guys think is the difference between the opening and the closing tag? Just from what you can observe. Excellent. Yep, the forward slash. Excellent, excellent. Okay, so yeah, the forward slash on the closing tag is what makes it a closing tag. Now, there's some tricky things, and I'll show you later. There are some HTML tags that don't require a closing tag, but we'll talk about those later. For now, just know that the content affected by the tag is what's enclosed inside the opening and the closing bracket. Okay, so we're going to take a look at this, and what I want to do is I want to go to our first example. So if you haven't gotten there yet, go ahead and go to the example that says hello world, and you can toggle these down here at the bottom. If you're in the demo course and you're like, well, how do I get there? You can actually go from the slides and hit next, or you can actually click on these individual little bubbles at the bottom here. And so here we are in the code editor. And what I want to do is I want to kind of make this a little bigger because I know it might be a little hard to see on your screen. There we go. Okay. So here we are with the code segment. Now you can see here on the right-hand side, there's different sections for different types of tags. The formatting tags, which is mainly what we're going to be working with today, are going to be in green. And so if I wanted to add, let's say another tag, I want to add a tag that says, whoops, let me make sure that it's snapping together correctly. There we go. And I'm going to add another tag, and this one's going to say, my name is Linda. All right. Whoops, I spelled my own name wrong. Sorry. All right, so there we go. So if I run this program, you should be able to see, let me switch to text mode. Sometimes if your blocks for whatever reason aren't working correctly, you can also switch to text mode like I showed you guys. But I'm going to add an H1. Now, notice when I click on my angle bracket, it automatically adds the ending tag for me. Sometimes that won't happen, but 9 times out of 10, it will. So make sure that you have an ending tag, and then I can say, my name is Linda. Now, a couple things, I run it, I can see there's my name, but I can also click this here and view it in a new window. Students love this because they have the ability to actually view it like a web page on a web browser. So for now, once you're done taking a look and maybe messing around, you can always feel free to break the example. I always tell my students, there's no way that you can break it. Well, we can always put it back the way it was before. But what's nice about the examples is they can see what has been illustrated in the video. They can also play with it, mess around with it, change it, and see how they can adapt it. So I'm going to hit continue. Now, once I hit continue, it takes me to the very next thing. So what I want you to do in this particular assignment, and by the way, up here on the right, you're going to see a couple of tabs. The assignment is under the assignment tab. So it says to create an HTML page to introduce yourself to the world. It says, hello, my name is Carol. And then you can introduce yourself however you'd like. And once you're done, go ahead and click on this tab that says test cases and hit check code. So I'm going to go ahead and do this with you. I'm going to put in an H1 tag and I can say, hello world. Okay, now if I hit check code, you can see this is where the auto grader kicks in. This is the wonderful part about CodeHS is that you can manually grade the assignments for your students. You also have the option for the auto grader, and that's available here. So that's where check code. My students loved check code because if there was ever an issue, they were able to see it in the check code. Now, if I was to break this for just a second, let's say for whatever reason, I don't have my end tag and I hit check code. Let's see. Oh, it's still saying it's okay. Well, let's try it. Let's try taking out both of them. All right. Check code. It says like your H1 tag must have text in it. You must have the word hello. You must have an H1 tag on your page. So all of these things are missing from my assignment. So once I add those back in, I should be able to see that code all set up. So I'm going to add it back. And again, students may at times have text already added for them, and they just simply have to kind of maneuver their markup so that they can make it look the way they want to. So again, depending on the type of assignment it is, they may have to mark up text that's already there, or they may create text from scratch. So I'm going to hit submit and continue. And we're going to look at a couple of more formatting tags. Now, in the formatting section, you notice there's H1, H2, H3, H4, and H5, and H6. So go ahead and hit run for me. And just in the chat, let me know which one is the largest and which one is the smallest. So let's start with which one is the largest? H1, excellent. H1 is the largest. Yes, so that stands for heading 1. That would be used for the big bold text at the top of your web page. Now, what about the smallest? H6, excellent. H6 may be something like your footer text or a caption to a photo, something like that. And then you have everything in between. So if you're creating maybe a web page about a newspaper article, you might start with an H1 tag as your big bold headline, and an H2 tag for your byline. All right, so we're going to hit continue. And what I want you to do is for this assignment, it says under the assignment tag, is that in this exercise, you're going to create your very first web page with HTML tags. First, write an H1 tag, and you can state anything you want. It should say something like, I like, blah, blah, blah. And then choose to have a different kind of text in either an H2, H3, H4, or H5. So you can go ahead and add that in. And again, if you want to switch back and forth from text mode to code mode, you can format this however you'd like. But I'm going to give you a few seconds here. All right, excellent. So I am going to go ahead and add a couple tags here. So H1, remember, I can open the tag, it closes it for me. If it doesn't close it, I'd have to close it manually. But again, this is the type of tag that does require a closing tag. I can say, name is Linda. I love to teach coding. And then I could have a simple H2 tag. My H2 tag can say something like, I live in Florida. There you go. All right, and so you can see the difference between the two. And students will also have the ability, if they, for whatever reason, they watch the video, they watch the slides, they watched you do it on the screen, and they're like, I'm still lost. What do I do? Well, they have a docs tab here at the top right-hand corner. This is a documentation for all of the tags that they may use. They have HTML basics, CSS basics, all the way down to the Bootstrap components as well. So if they get lost, if they're like, Ms. Hahn, I don't remember how to create basic headers, they can click on here and see headers, and they'll be able to see all of the possible header tags that you have taught within the classes. So a couple of components here. Let me just debrief with you real quick. I added the slides from CodeHS onto my slideshow as well. So you're going to see a lot of these are the actual slides that I utilized in the presentation. And then we took a look at the editor. So the first example was Hello World. The exercise Hello World allowed us to kind of learn a little bit about the H1 tag. And remember, I said if you were using blocks for this particular exercise, you would just simply have to go to the formatting section and you'd be able to utilize the blocks from there. And then we took a look at the example and that example included all of the different heading tags all the way from H1 to H6. And the exercise allowed us to kind of talk a little bit about a hobby that we like and what we like to do and incorporate an H2, H4, or H5, all the way down to H6. So pop it in the chat. What HTML tags have you learned so far? Header tags, excellent. H tags, excellent, excellent. So just in a short amount of time, we have learned H1 to H6. We've also learned how to open and close our tags. We've learned a little bit about what HTML stands for as well. So very exciting to get to kind of debrief with you guys. So what I want to do now is kind of talk to you and ask you what strategies so far have you seen that are helpful? What are some things that maybe you're excited about as I'm showing you these different strategies and also the tools available to you through CodeHS? If you could answer that in the chat for me, that'd be awesome. Modeling and auto check. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Having students use block coding. Excellent. Yeah. The ability to go back and forth is great. Yes. CodeHS does have some auto text, so occasionally you will have that kind of ability to toggle back and forth. Great. Excellent. Being able to check your work before submitting. Yes, the students will also find that really helpful because they'll know right away what is happening in their code and how to get full credit for that particular assignment. Excellent. Immediate feedback is awesome. All right. Okay, so let me see. To wrap up the lesson, so today we took a look at HTML tags. We started with an H1 tag. And we were able to see, H1 through H6 and all the different, probably the ways that we could utilize those different tags. So in H1, big bold headings, all the way down to H6, maybe that is considered captions or footer notes or things like that. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, about 5 minutes, and then I want to come back and I want to actually walk you through another lesson. This time, the lesson is going to be more focused on a little more advanced coding, and then we will be able to collaborate together. So I'm excited about that. So about 5 minutes. We'll come back at 46. All right, everyone. I hope we're back from break and ready to go for the second assignment. I wanted to say, Esther put in the comments something so helpful, and that was to, you can change the size of the code editor, and I'm going to show you that in just a moment, but I love that. Thank you, Esther, for that tip. If you're following along and Emily popped into the chat the questions in case you have some additional questions. In the workbook though, in this second link, if you scroll down a little bit, you can see this second link, images in HTML, or you can simply go right from the course we were working from, and you can go to this second lesson, which is the images lesson. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look this time at HTML images. So what I want to do is back to HTML images. Now, because the video is somewhat laggy, I am just going to simply teach through the slides. But what I do want to say is the video can be used with or without slides interchangeably. You can decide how it is that you want to structure your course. But what I want to do for now is have you enter in this time as a student, and I am going to just be speaking right as a teacher. So welcome class. Today we're going to learn about images, and what I want to do is teach you how you can get great images from online and put them on your website. So we're going to talk a little bit about images today. So HTML and websites, a lot of the websites on the internet have images. So whether that is a website that strictly works off images, like maybe Instagram, which is a web application, or it's a website that's maybe a database like Amazon, you still use a lot of images to illustrate what it is that you're trying to do. So images require an IMG tag, or what's called an image tag. Now, this is an example of a self-closing tag. So if you'll remember last class, I told you all of the web page or all of the HTML that needs to be marked up needs to have an opening tag and an ending tag. Now, because you don't have text necessarily that you're marking up, the image tag doesn't really necessarily need a closing tag. So it is what's called a self-closing tag. So really important for you to note, there's a couple of different things going on here. First, we have the image tag. And the second thing to note is that we have an attribute. Now, the attribute is what's called the source in this case. The source is where on the internet that particular image lives. Now, remember, everything online requires you to store it somewhere on a server. And so in this case, we have the CodeHS logo, and that CodeHS logo is living out in the cloud somewhere and allows us to access that logo onto our web page by using an image tag. So again, this requires no closing tag. So you won't see text in between two image tags, and therefore you don't need a closing tag. So simply the image tag has some attributes, and we'll talk about why those attributes are important. Now, first attribute that we saw was the source. So the source is where it lives on the internet, but we also have things like width and height that allows us to determine how big and how high or how many pixels wide and how many pixels high the image is going to display on our website. Other attributes can include things like the type of image it is. So in this case, like I said, once we run this program, you can see that the CodeHS logo shows up. If we change the width, the CodeHS logo automatically shrinks to fit the height as well. So if you want a nice proportional image, you can either change the height or change the width. But if you change both, it's going to automatically snap to whatever size you want it to be, and it's going to be precise. So in this case, we changed the width to 100, and so therefore it scaled the height as well. But if we said, no, I want the width to be 100, but the height to be 600, it's going to stretch out that image regardless. So we're going to take a look at this in the editor together, and then we're going to have some time to do a little bit of practice together. So I am excited to show you this. We're going to take a look first in the editor by going to the image tag exercise. And so remember that you can either hit next from the previous slides that I was showing you, or you can simply open up the image tag exercise at the bottom here using the bubbles. So in this particular example, it says, this is an example of the image tag, and notice the different parts of the tag, the source and the width. So we're going to explore this example. And when I hit run, it says, welcome to CodeHS. And then that utilizes the H1 tag, which we learned about last class. And we have an image tag. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch to source. Now, I wanted to show you real quick how you can change the editor settings. So if you're having a really tough time seeing that font, you can click on this little gear up here on the top left corner, and you can choose to make that editor font a little bit bigger. So you can see now it's nice and big for us to see. Okay. So a couple attributes that we see here is the image source. So this, if I was to put this into the web browser, and I was simply to add it literally to my web browser, you would see that I am actually on the CodeHS. I am on the internet where the CodeHS logo is being hosted. So you can see that there. But I also decided that I want the width to be 200 pixels. So now what I want to do is I want to change that to 500 pixels. And you can do that with me and just see what happens. And when I run that program, you can see the CodeHS logo is much, much bigger. Now, we learned last class also that if you want to view this in a new window, you can simply click this bar here where it says CHTML in a new window, and you can see your nice big logo option. And you can also see the web page as it would be seen on the internet. All right, there's one more attribute I want to tell you about, and that is what's called an alt tag. Alt tag stands for alternative text. Now, there are times that the images on the internet will either not load, or someone is using a screen reader and requires that screen reader in order to see what the image is. So what we're going to do is we're going to add what's called alternative text. Now notice it says source equals quotation marks, and then inside we have the source for the image link, and then we say width equals as well. And let me make my editor just a little bit smaller so you can see it all in one line. So we have width equals, and then in quotations, 50 px, which stands for pixels. If I want to add alternative text, I can add it to the front, I can add it to the end. I just don't want to add it before the IMG. So I'm going to go ahead and add it to the end, and I'm going to put alt equals, and then I'm going to say CodeHS logo. And notice that I can put spaces, and this is just like adding text, almost like adding a caption. So if I run this program, nothing's going to happen. And you might be saying, well, what's the point of alternative text? Again, it's for actually three things. One is if for whatever reason your logo didn't load. So let's say, for instance, I don't have the end of this URL. I left off the G and I hit run. Well, now my CodeHS logo isn't showing up. Instead, my alternative text shows up and I know what's supposed to be there. So now if I put the G back, run it again, you can see my logo now shows up. Now, the other reason for the alternative text, again, is with anyone who has vision impairment and needs to utilize a screen reader, they can utilize the alternative text to know what it is that your picture is trying to illustrate. Lastly, this also feeds a search engine. So believe it or not, a search engine, although they're getting more and more advanced with AI and there's more developments, largely something like Google Images is still utilizing alt text heavily to find pictures. Now, can anybody tell me in the chat, just like, what do you think would be the problem if we use the wrong alternative text for the search engine? Yeah, it should match. Absolutely. Yeah, imagine if I am searching for something very, very specific, and you may have had this experience before. You may have searched for something and you're like, I'm looking for puppies, and that was not puppies. And you're like, what happened there? Well, sometimes that is due to, a mismatch in that alt text. So again, we want to drive the users to the right content. So if I can be as specific as possible, so in this case, this is the CodeHS logo, I add that alternative text and it helps not only with search engines, but also again with screen readers. So I'm going to hit continue. And what you can do is, well, we have the option now to create a photo collage of 4 images. Now I will say this, although this is not included in this particular assignment, you can add 2 images and then add what's called a BR tag. So I'm going to show you that in just a moment. There are 4 image links here for you, or you can also search for your own images. Now I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate how to do this exercise, as well as show you a couple of other tags that may help as well. So we're going to hit let's go. Looks like I have my some of my stuff from a previous assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that, run it, make sure I don't have anything showing there. But what I do want to do is take a moment and go to Google Images with you, and we're going to look for a particular image. Now, I'm going to put my teacher to teacher hat back on, guys, because this is where it can get a little tricky and you have to set some boundaries for your students, because if you're like, oh, we're just going to send students to the internet to look for pictures, what could go wrong? We want to make sure to give them some very specific parameters and things that they need to look for and things like that. So I'm going to put my teacher to student hat back on. And what I want to do is I want to go to Google, and I want to really quickly just kind of go to like puppies. Yeah, let's look for puppies. There we go. All right, so I've got images here, and what I want to do is I want to look for, well, it looks like it's giving me categories already. I've got adorable puppies, golden retriever puppies, fluffy puppies. Well, I can choose any of them, but I'm going to go ahead and choose this little guy, the Maltese. The reason I'm doing this is because I want something that is a landscape format, okay? So yeah, somebody says use Pixabay in your class. That's a great option because students have, you know, they can stay within those parameters. But if you're searching for something benign, usually Google Images is going to be okay. There's a couple of tools here. If you go to more, the tools, you can actually decide what type of size you want the picture to be. So if they want them to get a large picture, you click large, and then it would show you larger images versus maybe a smaller tiny JPEG file. And then, you know, you can decide if you want regular pictures or clip art. Clip art also populates here, but I'm just going to choose any type for now. And so I'm going to choose this little guy. What I want to do though, and this is really important, I want to click on the image. Okay. So I can see him here on the right-hand side in Google Images, and I right click now. Now, are you able to see my right click? Okay, excellent, good. As I was worried that the screen share would not allow me to do so. Okay, so I'm going to click on copy image address. So you can see it down here. It's the third to last one, says copy image address. So when I do that, I can go ahead and copy that. And I go back to my exercise. And now remember, I'm adding in an image tag. So there's 2 ways that I can do that. I can go to my blocks and go to, let's see, is it resources? Yes, it's under resources. I pop that in and look, I can add my source code right here. And then I go in and I can actually add my alt text. And my alt text should show up here on the, and I can say Maltese puppy. All right. The other way to do this is I can also add my image tag. So I put IMG. And notice nothing happens when I do that. So I have to add some attributes. I have to say SRC is equal to, and then paste in my image again. So you're going to see that image twice. And again, space, and then add my alt text, alt equals, and then I can say Maltese. Okay, now, just real quick, just giving you a heads up. If I wanted to resize my image, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. Let me run this real quick. All right, there we go. So now my images are really huge. So if I open up in a new tab, oh my word, these puppies are a little bit too big. So what did I say I could do to the tag in order to make it smaller? You guys remember? So pop it into the chat, something that I can width. Okay. So I can go in here, help me out. So width, change the width and height. Okay. So width equals, and let's go ahead and change it to 200 pixels and just see what happens. So my first little dude. Okay. So he's gotten a little bit smaller. All right. Maybe 300. And then I can do the same thing to my second puppy. Notice that it changed it proportionally. So both of my puppies now are showing up the same size. But if I wanted it to be, you know, a height of 200 very specific pixels, you can see the difference between the top puppy and the bottom puppy. Top puppy is proportionate. It looks great. My bottom puppy is kind of stretched out. He's looking a little funky. But if I wanted all of my pictures to be the same size and there were 4 different puppy pictures, I might have to decide that that's the size that I want. And some of them may be stretched out. But what you can do now is after you've added 2 images, then you can add what's called a break tag. Now, a break tag, students, this is just teacher to teacher hat. Students will have learned this by the time they get to this unit. But back to student to teacher, teacher to student, I add a break tag by adding what's called BR. So I can put in BR, and it's a self-closing tag because all it does is it goes to the next line. Now, why the next line? Well, if you look at my images, everything on an HTML page, when you add any type of HTML, it always aligns to the top left corner. Similar to when you're typing in a Microsoft Office Word document, it always aligns to the top left. So it says, are you going to get an error if you will not write PX in each of the sizes? Good question. I'm going to go just try it and see what happens. I believe we don't, believe it or not. Yeah, I think we're okay. But proper formatting is going to ask for the PX. I'll tell you why that is. There are many different ways to resize an image. So it's not just with pixels. You can also resize images with percentages. So let's say I wanted my image to be the entire width of the screen. I can literally say 100%. When I do that, my puppy is now 100% of the size of the screen, or it's 100% of my bigger screen. So just a little trick, and the students are going to learn that in the CSS segment. Can we add our own pictures? Yes, absolutely. We actually have a feature coming, as far as I remember, that'll allow you to upload your own photos. But if your students have a self-hosted, photo that they would like to use, they can certainly do that. So what I want to do is I want to put it back to 200 pixels for each of my puppies. And now generally I would have 2 different pictures, but or 4 different pictures. But what I want to do is I want to show you what happens when I put in a BR tag in. So I can copy this entire segment, paste it in, and now I have 4 puppies, and it's showing up like a collage. So you can see my 4 dudes here, and you can see it in the preview window as well. Okay. So this BR tag stands for break. And what it does is it simply allows you to break and go to the next line. And by going to the next line, you're going to go to the next line on the left side of the screen. So again, everything aligns to the top left corner. Everything floats to the left once you add a break tag as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you create your collage, but I want to go one step further. So if you are in Google Images and like enjoying looking around and trying to find images, that's awesome. You can create your, it says in the assignment, I believe, that you can create your own 4 images on a specific theme of your choosing. So you can choose those, or you can just use the sample image links that are provided for you. So either of those 2 will work. What I want to do now, though, is turn our attention. Now, what I have done is once you hit submit and continue, notice that it says, thank you for submitting your program. At times, there may be exercises where your students will submit and you will need to manually grade it. This would be the type of assignment that would probably be an auto grader. But since I added in myself, it didn't have that component. But later, you can create your own website. So you're going to see that a little bit later. But what I want to do now is I want to turn my attention to the sandbox. Now at the top left corner, do you see it says sandbox? Now, when I click on the sandbox, it allows me to create a brand new program. So what we're going to do today, and this is me putting my teacher to teacher hat back on, we are going to create a new program and we're going to collaborate in different groups and create different collages of different things based on some themes. So what I want to do is I want to create a demo section. Now I've created a demonstration room here. And what I'm going to do is Emily, myself, and Julia are going to show you how you can collaborate. Now I have chosen, if I go back here to my sandbox, I can say something like HTML practice. And then I hit create program and I would just click on the type of program I need it to be. And so you see here, because CodeHS teaches so many different types of courses, we have a wide selection of the types of coding languages that students can use. But in this case, we would just use simple HTML. And I'm going to go ahead and go to my demo tab here. And you can see Emily has already begun to put an H2 tag there. And it says, welcome to my web page. And so if I was to then, come in here and Julia's adding hers, I can put an H4 tag and say, hello, welcome. And if I hit run, I can see everyone's code at one time. Pretty cool, right? So we're all adding our own HTML tag, but creating one assignment. Very cool. So I want to also talk about once you have finished a collaboration, so whether that's something that you have set up ahead of time for your students, once you close it out, students will no longer be able to edit that. But what you can do is have them do what's called forking. And if they want to keep that particular assignment or kind of remix it for their own, they can hit fork, and that will allow them to actually create like a remix of that particular room. So if they collaborated with a bunch of different students and they wanted to each turn in their own version of it, they could easily do that by hitting fork. Now, the way that I did it in order to collaborate was I hit share and I went to collaborate and simply copied and pasted the link into a chat. And then that's how Julia, Emily, and I are able to collaborate with one another. So what I want to do is I'm going to go back to our demo course now. Let me just close out some of these windows. And I'm going to go to this bubble that says real-time collaboration feature. I have created a sandbox program for each of our themes today. So what Julia is going to do now is we're going to break out into rooms. And what we want to do is have you guys collaborate on a collage of your choice. Now, room one, if you choose room one, you would there is a collage of puppies that you're going to be creating. I'm going to go back to the slides just to show you how this works. So remember the rooms, if you see the room in progress, so this is where you can actually click to access those. And so if you want to see the actual links, I have linked them here in the workbook, or you can also see them here on the actual demo course. So again, room one, collage of puppies. Room two is a collage of kittens, if you're more of a cat person like I am. Sports, room three. National parks, if you love hiking and biking and going to national parks, very cool. Choose national parks. Room five is a collage of teacher memes. We know there's funny stuff when you're a teacher. So if you love funny stuff, you want to choose room five. Room six, a collage of computer science memes. Maybe this is about teaching computer science. And finally, room seven, this one is where you can create together a collage about a summer road trip. So plan your perfect road trip for the summer. And what I want to do is kind of show you what each of these rooms look like. So once you choose one, again, you can go to each individual breakout room and you're going to see different people And make sure that you also choose the room so that you can talk to one another as you're creating your images. Okay, any questions so far? We're good?
All right, I have our breakout rooms ready. Just a quick note, because I know it is a little tricky when you're choosing your own room. So you'll see once the breakout rooms are open, you'll see a breakout rooms option on the bottom of Zoom. And there's a number, a blue number next to each room that tells how many people are in the room. That is where you actually, once you hover over that number, it will change to say join, and that's how you'll join. So I know we've had issues with that in the past, but we're gonna see if we can make that work. So I'm opening our rooms now. You should be able to see our breakout room options. And if you click on one of those 0 numbers, you should see join. So you can move into that room. And I see some people figuring it out already. Let us know if you have any issues joining a room. So you'll have about 10 minutes to work with your group to create a collage on your theme. Make sure that you head into your breakout room on Zoom so you can chat with your group. And then you can also find the links to the Collaborate on CodeHS in the chat or in those spots where Linda already showed you. Let us know in the chat if you have any questions.
So Nancy, if you click on, I think it should say participants, having difficulty in joining a room. Okay. Nancy and Vanessa, if you guys want us to assign you to a room, just pick one and let me know which number and we'll add you in. Computer science. Okay.
All right, so I assigned you, Vanessa, to that room. You should see that pop up and then you can head in there, and I'll send you Nancy as well.
Is anyone else having trouble with joining a room?
All right, Virginia, I got you. If anyone else needs to get moved in, just let us know.
All right, is everyone back? All right, excellent. Okay, in the chat, tell me how that was. What was it like to kind of collaborate with everybody else? You guys have fun? Was it interesting? Yeah. We saw a lot of different puppies. Excellent. Okay. Okay, excellent. Good. I'm glad that was fun. Okay, so what I wanted to do was, the big reveal. I want to show everybody's awesome breakout rooms. So we got breakout room number 1. Now I'm going to run this again. And oh my word, so many great puppies. Excellent, excellent job, guys. There's a few that are not loading. So if you're in the puppy room, let's see if we can get it to run. Nice job though. Love it. You have the images in there, the line breaks. Awesome, awesome job. Trial and error, but excellent. All right, let's look at the kittens. Michelle's in there right now. So excellent, guys. We have the cutest kittens. I'm gonna run this again. Nice job. All right. Samantha and Kristen. Nice. I love the use of the H tags as well. All right, some sports pictures. Great work. Nice teamwork. We have a lot of different sports here. Excellent job, guys. All right. National parks. Nice work. This one was so aesthetic. It looks like a, like a national park, like homepage or something. This is awesome. Great job, guys. All right. And then we've got teacher memes. Definitely my favorite. Yes. I'm going to open this up in a new tab. This is fantastic. All right. We got, yes. Avoiding stress. Yeah, yeah, definitely me at like around March of the school year. That's great. It's our secret. There is no plan. Absolutely. Nice. All right. Okay, so let's look at computer science memes. Equally hilarious. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. Yes. I love that specifically we have a web design meme that was excellent. And I can totally relate to this one. I hate coding. I hate it. I hate it. Oh, wait, it's awesome. Something works. And sometimes you don't know why it works. So that's another reason. Nice. Just found a bug and ate it. Beautiful. All right, let's see. Our breakout room, favorite summer road trip spots. I didn't have any in there, but awesome job, guys. Great, great, great. I really enjoyed that. So just as a wrap up, I wanted to talk a little bit about the types of resources. So videos and slides, we saw the quiz. I did not get to show you, but there is a quiz that can sometimes be associated with your particular assignment. So in addition to the video, there is generally a video and then a short quiz, usually 1 to 2 questions, just to kind of prime the students, make sure they were paying attention. And oftentimes I would move that quiz to the end of the lesson just to give them kind of an exit ticket, an opportunity to show their proficiency, but also show that they were completely done with the lesson. We looked at examples, we looked at exercises, which you guys did a great job on. We also collaborated. We talked a lot of vocabulary and we did some discussion questions in the chat. Excellent job. So a couple things. First of all, the first 5 lesson plans are included on the free plan. So depending on which version of CodeHS you're working with, you may have access to all the lesson plans or the first 5. But all of the curriculum that you saw today, the videos, the lessons, the quizzes, all of that is included. The lesson plan just kind of dives deeply into more strategies that you can use in your classroom. So in some cases you might have accommodations, and in this case, you will have some portions in the lesson plan that may help you to adapt depending on the student population that you have. So the CodeHS resources, again, they have some student-facing components. When it comes to the videos and slides, you can see where we can watch them together, or you can watch them also individually. So if you want to flip your classroom and say to your students, well, your homework assignment is to watch the video and be ready when we start class tomorrow, so we can dive right into assignments and collaboration, then you can do that way. You can also use resources like Edpuzzle and TED Ed. remember that you have the ability to utilize the YouTube version of that video within CodeHS. So if you wanted to create an Edpuzzle or TED Ed, you'd be able to also incorporate some formative assessments within the actual video, which is also a really cool thing if you want to use other tools. You can use the slides and you can go through the instruction as well, just as a teacher as you would your own slides. Notice that I used the examples and I really dove deeply into the examples, did a little bit of breaking and also modifying the examples. Remember that the examples are not graded generally. So if you wanted to have your students just go wild and try different things, examples are a really great way to do that. You can use an online whiteboard like Jamboard, and students can collaborate using something like you saw today, a Padlet. They can maybe put little sticky notes. Maybe you can ask them, hey guys, what particular HTML tags did we learn today? And they can each add their own sticky with which tags they learned today. You can also add a coding challenge. So at the end, if you wanted to break them up into groups and then they could collaborate together, and the first group to come up with a collage of 20 pictures is my winner for today. So you can have all sorts of different coding challenges and exercises. Exercises can include pair programming or peer programming. So you may have a scenario, and this happens oftentimes in a web design course, where students have created a project and now you kind of want to peer review. So that is something that we did quite often. Students would code their individual projects and then swap and look at each other's websites and give each other creative and constructive criticism in a way that would help them, because if there was an issue with maybe I didn't think about these pictures are too small or too grainy, it's great for my fellow peers to be able to tell me how I can be improved. You can also complete those exercises individually. You can share out the exercises in partners and so on. Your bell ringers, you saw a couple of things today, but I use a Padlet. You can also use a polling app if you'd like. You can use this as an exit ticket or beforehand. Polling apps, I know one that we use here at CodeHS is Slido. I know that has been really popular with students as well. Again, these are just resources, additional things that you can incorporate into your classroom, but it's not necessary. You can incorporate maybe a Google form or a Microsoft form, and as I said, some different whiteboarding apps to incorporate other pieces. And Julia is going to show you how you can add your own content should you want to do so for your CodeHS courses. Now, so you've seen kind of the best practices. So I want to ask you this question. What routines, even if you're not currently using CodeHS, whether that's something that you saw here today or something you've done in the past, what are some of the things that you can incorporate in your classroom? And just pop that into the chat. So we talked about bell ringers, videos, examples, exercises, and even if you have something that you want to add that maybe I haven't even thought about, that'd be great. Pair coding, excellent. Use bell ringers. I can definitely incorporate that into my class. Great, 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 great. Exit tickets are great too. If you, like I said, you can always move the quizzes around or move the exercises to your liking and how you want your class to flow. Yeah. I like to write a few lines of code and have them find the errors. Excellent. Debugging strategies. I didn't even cover that, and that is an excellent idea, Samantha. Have them debug either one another's code or some sample code that you've created for them already. Excellent, excellent work. CodeHS handouts. Yes, yes, you can either use them for homework or you can use them in class. And those handouts can also be found as a part of the lesson plan. Excellent. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over here. Exit tickets or collaboration every day. Excellent. I'm going to turn it over to Julia. So I'm going to stop my share. And thank you so much, by the way, guys, for creating these awesome collages. I think I'm going to share that. I'm going to cherish those forever. So turn it over to Julia.
All right, awesome. So here we go. Let me just get my screens all set up and ready. So we are going to now take a look at some teacher tools on CodeHS. And I do know that there are a bunch of you who have been here for some of our summer workshops, our other course summer workshops. So you may see a lot of tools that we have looked at before. I'm going to try to add in some additional ones based on what we were looking at as we went through our content today. So how we can add new curriculum to our course, how you can edit that course. I'll just give you a little bit of info about that. So you can totally sit back and watch. If you are brand new to CodeHS, this might be a whirlwind. So just take a breather. I just want you to see how many options there are on CodeHS. There's so much you can do. And I'm going to show you a way that if there's something that you want to do on CodeHS that you currently don't know how you can ask CodeHS either if it's possible or put in a request to have that feature added. So that collaborate feature that we took a look at earlier, that wasn't a feature that we had even a year ago. A lot of teachers asked us, we want a way for students to be able to pair program virtually, because a lot of teachers last year had to teach their entire computer science class virtually. And that feature was requested so much that, our engineering team put it on the list and they made it happen. And now that's a really awesome tool that we have. So I am going to go through some tools. Sit back and watch. If you are brand new, don't let this overwhelm you. Hopefully the goal is just for you to see how much there is and how much we can do on CodeHS. If you have any questions at all during this portion of our time together, make sure you put them onto the question parking lot, because Emily has a lot of awesome resources that she can link directly to you to give you all of that information. So you are going to receive this slide deck, but we are going to go through our tools on the site so that you can see exactly where, how these tools look and how you can navigate to them here. Again, if you have questions, make sure you put them on the parking lot. All right, so on our main page, you're going to see your sections, and these sections are like your periods. So if you have period 1, JavaScript, period 2, web design, you can have multiple sections of the same course. So if you have 2 or 3 sections of web design this year, you'll be able to have that course, web design, and apply it to multiple sections based on how your courses are set up. So once we click into our demo section, you are going to see a list of students once students have joined your class. And the way that students are going to join your class, they are going to get this code. You'll see that class code in a lot of different places, but this is that link, the same way that you joined our demo code, our demo section today. You will provide your students with that link and that code, and they will join your class that way as well. So there's a bunch of different things that we can get to on this main page, and I'm going to highlight a few of them. So our announcements is a really helpful tool that you can use to give information to all of your students at one time. So if you click on that announcements, you can type in an announcement for your students, and that will send a message to them as soon as they log into CodeHS. They will see that announcement pop up on their screen. And any announcements that you have sent will be listed down here below, so you can keep a record of what those announcements were. If you want to communicate with your students individually, we have a conversation tool here. And so that exists for all of your students in the course. So you can click on that conversation tool and you will be able to have a chat with just that specific student. So if you want to check in, a student is absent, you want to make sure they are up to date, they don't have any questions, or maybe they need to come see you at lunch, you can do that right there, and that will pop up on the student's page, but just for that one student you're having that conversation with. And another really helpful tool that is on this main page here is the attendance tool. So if you click attendance, you will see the specific day, and it will tell you when the student logged on that day, their most recent activity, and how much total time they spent on the site that day. You can also see the weekly attendance. So for the whole week, a good overview of Monday through Sunday, actually, when were students logging into CodeHS, and you can see no one is on because it's summer. But you can choose your different week and just get a little overview if students at all logged on to the site that day. All right, so at the top, this is our roster. This is just our students in the course. But if you want to go and see what is the actual content in the course, we can click assignments here. And this is where we can customize that course as well. So you're going to see all of the modules in the course. This is the JavaScript course. For web design, it would look a little different. You would have different modules. But when you open the module, you click on it, it will expand all of the lessons. And right here is an awesome, really helpful link directly to that lesson plan for that specific lesson. And if you click into the lesson, it will expand every single item or activity in that lesson. And you have a lot of really helpful information right here, links to the problem guides, the solution code. You can preview it right from here to see how that looks. And you'll see even at the bottom of every lesson, you can directly add a new assignment right here. So how Linda was talking about how she embedded that Padlet, you can do that right from here, add any information that you want, and you can move the items. So if you added a Padlet, but you want it to come right after the video, you can click the 3 dots and move it up or move it down so that the order of the assignments matches what you want it to be. You can also add content here. So you can add a full new module, a lesson, an assignment from this top portion, or you can add existing content. So say you wanted to teach web design, but you also wanted some students to get some JavaScript content, or maybe you wanted them to be able to preview that web development course, another course. You can click CodeHS content and you can add modules or lessons or a full other course to this section so that your students can see multiple information from multiple CodeHS courses in one spot. You can also add, if you created something in the sandbox, you can add that right there as well. And one thing that a lot of teachers don't know about is supplemental. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom and you expand this search for content section, you'll see all the supplemental materials that exist for this specific course. So these are all of the supplemental materials for our Intro to JS course, and you can assign them to your section right there, or go in and preview what they have. So all of the courses have different amounts of supplemental material, different types of supplemental, but there's a lot of either extra challenges or additional practice. So these are really helpful for you to use with your students the way that you need. And I am going to dive into some tools that we have on CodeHS to that maybe you want to add some extra practice, but you don't want to add it for all of your students. You want a select group of students who need that extra practice to work on those assignments, but not everyone. And so I'm going to hop in and show you some of those tools, but I know people always, the goal of this is not for it to be a sales pitch. I want you to understand, like, we're not trying to hide what is on the free plan and what is on the pro plan. A really, really quick, easy way for you to see that. If you click more and all tools, you'll see this page. And sometimes people get a little scared of this page because there is a lot of information here, but I think this is really, really helpful because you can immediately see all of the tools that we have available and what plan they are a part of, and if you specifically on your account have access to that. So you might not know, right? Maybe your school has a pro plan, but you haven't, used CodeHS yet, or you're brand new and someone else was telling you about it. So you can see right here very easily if you have access to those tools. And then you have these links, which are so helpful. So if you're like, I saw Linda use that sandbox. What else can you do with that sandbox? I'm interested to learn more. You can head right here and you have a link to a help article and a link to a video demo. So this is a really, really awesome page for you to get a lot of information about all these tools. And you'll see, though there are a lot of pro tools, there also are a lot of things that you can do on the free account. And there are so many teachers that use CodeHS for years trying to get pro, but they teach on free, all the time. When I was teaching, I was using a free account as well. So there's definitely multitudes of ways to use the site, even if you aren't able to get that pro plan at this time. So just want to let you know that. All right, so that is that all tools page, and you can find that in that more, or you can actually find it in the toolbox, and if you click view full toolbox. So now I'm going to dive into what some of these tools are. So we were talking before about those assignments, and maybe if you wanted to add some extra practice. So if we go to course settings and due date and access controls, this is a really great way for you to both control what your students see, what your students access, and you can do it at even the individual student level. So here is assign means this content, and you can expand from module to lesson to activity. So you can get as granular as you want. This assigned will say if this module even shows up for your students. So if you change it to unassigned, that means they just won't even see it in their course. So this is a way, if you know this, there's a course and you just want to make sure like students don't see it at all, you can unassign it. You can also, in that customize section where we had our assignments here, you can remove this entire module here. So those are two different ways to take it out of your course technically. Here, it's going to be gone. You can find it in the trash. That I'm not going to get into that. But if maybe you're like, I don't think I want to use this with my students, I would just unassign it, because then it's really easy. If you're like, oh, actually, I thought my students were a lot, farther ahead than they thought. And now I actually want them to use this. It's really easy to just come back in and reassign it. So instead, those are the options to remove items from your course, but different reasons why you would use one over the other. You also you can set a due date for a module, a lesson, an assignment right here. And then access controls shows if students can access that content. So they will still see it in their course, but if it's locked or if it's scheduled and the time has not been reached, they will see the content, but they won't be able to click on it. It will have a little padlock, and they won't be able to get into that content until you make it available to them. So this is a good way for you to make sure that students are working on what you want them to work on at the time when you want them to do that. And that specific student by student way to set those features for them is to choose that student in this list. And once you choose a specific student, you can change the settings just for them. And specifically for this web design course, you can also change if they can use blocks or not. So if you open the allow blocks controls, you can say, this specific student, they are like really advanced. I want them to immediately start with text. So I'm going to say they're not allowed to use blocks, right? So there's a lot of different options there for how you can control for your students. I see in the chat, the access controls and due dates are a part of the pro plan. And so you can see that on that all tools section. Okay. So now let's take a look. We only have a little bit more time. So let's see, we're going to hop over to progress. So if you come up here to progress, you can click progress by assignment, or however you want to view that. And there's a bunch of other options here as well, but I want us to take a look at this key. This is really like a heat map of all of the assignments in our course and where students are with those assignments. So the teal color means that it's finalized. Either they completed it and it was auto graded and it passed all the auto graders, or they completed it and you gave them a grade and you put that finalized mark on it. So any of that teal means like they completed it, they did a good job, they're good to go. We have different pink colors, which mean that they need to review their work. Green means that they have submitted it and it's ready for you to take a look at that work. And yellow means they have started working on that, but they haven't finished it yet. And gray means they haven't even clicked into it. They haven't even opened it yet. So we can see a good overview of where our students are with the material from this progress. The next thing I want to take a look at is gradebook. So from the gradebook, you can see all of our assignments that we use the same color coding key. So you know that all of these teal ones are finalized, those grades are ready to go. And one really helpful thing here is that you can go to grade assignments directly from this page. And this is kind of a tool or a way to get to a tool that a lot of teachers don't know about. So you can click right onto the assignment. So say I wanted to click into short stack. I will open a page for just that assignment. It will have all my students, when they submitted it, how long they spent on that activity. I can give them all a score right here. I can give them all full credit if I want, give them all 0, give 1 0, you know, I can do all of those things. I can click view and see their assignments right here really quickly. Or Fast Grade, which is a pro tool. I'll show you how to grade not on Pro. If you are on the free version, I'll show you that as well. But if we click right into Fast Grade from an assignment here, this will show me all of those assignments, just that one assignment, all of the students who have submitted it. So I know that when I'm grading, I want to see one assignment and I want to just grade all of them because it's all right in my head, fresh to put that answer key right on there. So this is a really nice way to grade one assignment all at once. If we instead go to grade from the review tab up here or code review on the side, you'll see a different page and you can get into that fast grade mode here and it will look the same. You'll have the same options to finalize scores, to give feedback, to award full credit, all of those. You'll still have all of those options. The page will look the same, but you will be seeing all of the student submissions just based on when they submitted it. So if Emma has been working, you know, this weekend, she just made up a lot of assignments, you'll just have all of Emma's assignments, you know, if she completed them one after another, those are just going to come up based on the time that they were submitted rather than the specific assignment. You can use some filters to change that, filters and ordering, but the easiest way if you want to just grade one assignment back to back to back is to choose that assignment from the gradebook and get into fast grade that way. Grade mode is the way that you can grade on free. So if you click into grade mode here, you will see it will look very similar to the editor. So this is going to be the editor for that student, what code they wrote. You can run it right here. You can, you know, test it. If you go to the grade tab, here is where you're going to be able to give all of that information that you were able to give on fast grade, just in a different setup. So a lot of teachers, even on Pro, they still like to use this grade mode instead. It's all up to you if you have both access to both of those, but you can give your score, give feedback right here. If students have asked you questions, those will show up in this conversation. You can send them some information there. So lots of ways to do that same grading from this grade mode instead of fast grade. All right. And a few more things I want to show you. So our resources. So on the side, if you click resources, you'll see a lot of different items that we have for you. And so Linda was talking about those lesson plans. You can get to those right here. The first 5 lessons are free. All of these resources are free for the first 5 lessons of any course. So if you are teaching web design, but you want to check out like what do you have for JavaScript, what do you have for Python, you can check all of those lesson plans out, those first 5 for any of those courses. And the lesson plans are a really good place to go because they kind of incorporate all of these other resources in them. So they'll link the problem guides for any exercise. They'll have the handouts that are available. And so I think someone had said the handouts they use for homeworks, these are really nice ways to give students coding activities that are offline, right? Maybe they just need a screen break. They need to use a pencil and paper and complete some tasks. And handwriting code is also a really a different way to try to make those same connections to the content. So I definitely recommend that you check out those handouts. If we scroll down, we have a lot more information here as well. The syllabus for the course you can find right here, which is really helpful. We have also resources for the first week of school. So if you're like, I'm not sure where to start. Do I want to dive right into coding? Do I want to get started with that first lesson, or do I want to preface it and build that community in my classroom? There's a lot of resources here, both that focus on coding and not, that you can take a look at before you get started for the school year. You also have the course catalog, which you can get to if you go to My Courses and view course catalog, or you can also find it in the toolbox. Lots of ways to get everywhere. So here you can search for any other courses. If you're teaching web design, but you're like, what else is available? This is a really great thing for you to check out and see. Every year we add new courses. I think we have like 6 brand new courses coming out this summer that are going to be released at the end of this month. So be on the lookout for that. And the very last tool that I just want to make sure you know about, in the toolbox, in our support section, this is how you can always have a way to contact CodeHS. So I know that right now you're on this webinar and you're like, okay, I'm asking my questions in the parking lot, but what about after it ends, right? Do you still have access to ask us questions? Of course, we are here for you. So you can click contact us to send a message directly to our support team. Knowledge base is a really, really great thing for you to know about. If you're like, I really just want to know more about this, collaboration tool, you can go right into knowledge base, and it's a bunch of articles and FAQs to give you step-by-step information and videos and things on how to use different tools and things on CodeHS. So definitely check out that knowledge base if you have a specific need that you want more info about. All right, we only have 3 more minutes, so I'm going to hop over to our slides one more time, and we have a lot of slides here that will show a lot of those tools, and you will receive this this slide deck, so you'll have access to those to give you a little refresher on what we just talked about. But last things before we finish up, we have a CodeHS certified educator program. If you have been using CodeHS for a while and you love it, you want more information about that, make sure you ask that in the parking lot. We'll give you a link there. We also have a Facebook group, CodeHS Educators, which is a really great way for you to stay connected with other people in a similar scenario to you, right? Other people who are either teaching web design or new to CodeHS and wondering about different features, or wondering what's the best way to use examples. How do people use handouts, right? This is a really great place. So Emily, if we could drop that Facebook link into the chat so that you all have access to exactly how to find that. We also have a bunch more. We're getting to the end of our summer sessions, but we still have a few more that are going to be giving information on other CodeHS courses. And we also have one for new CodeHS teachers. So I saw a lot of people at the beginning say that you're brand new to CodeHS. If that was a little overwhelming because you saw all these tools and you're like, I just want to know how to get started, make sure you sign up for that new CodeHS teacher workshop. And we also have a workshop survey. The link is in your course as well, your demo course. So if you can take a few minutes and just give us some feedback. What you came for today, were you able to get that? Did you feel like this workshop lived up to why you signed up? We want to make sure that we're giving you information that you need and information that is relevant. And last but not least, if you need a certificate for attending our session today, you can head right over to codehs.com/webdesign-certificate and fill out this short Google form. Again, make sure that you double check your email on this form, because every time I have someone who just quickly types it in and then they aren't ever able to receive that certificate. So make sure that you fill that out. Emily, if we could drop that certificate link into the chat, that would be awesome. I know we're you're getting a lot of links at the beginning, a lot of links at the end, but I want to make sure if you are looking for that certificate, you are able to get that. All right, and it seems like maybe I'm a little just behind. So hopefully we are all set there. A reminder, if you have any questions, that parking lot doc is going to stay available, so you can check out that parking lot to get any information that you're looking for. And you can also always contact us through that, that support tab in the toolbox. All right. Let me just send this quickly. All right, awesome. So we just got that certificate link in there. If you need that certificate, make sure that you fill that out so you can receive that. And I'll be sending those out either today or tomorrow. So you'll get those very shortly. All right, thank you everyone so much for joining us. We hope to see you at another workshop, and have a great day, a great summer. And we're excited for you to use CodeHS in the coming year.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
have a great day, everyone.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.